Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Political Standpoint on TVC News, and we've been in the past half an hour thereabout dissecting the crisis in Rivers State, further trying to bring some form of clarity to all the divergent voices raging at this time, of course, in a bid to get some sense and, ultimately see how peace can be restored in Rivers State. In the studio with me has been Dr. Adetokunbo Pierce, the Chieftain of the People's Democratic Party. Chief Cletus Obun has also been joining us from the Obodo area of Cross River State. Thanks a lot for joining us, both gentlemen. Let's come back to the studio where Dr. Pierce has been with me. And in further reaction to what has been going on, we've seen also calls by some quarters in Rivers State that perhaps this will also be a fine opportunity, or this should be a fine opportunity for the PDP, the national body of the PDP, to also intervene, as well as inputs from former governors of Rivers State. There's also been talk that they have reached out to the governor, but haven't been able to reach out to the former governor and now FCT minister. What do you think?
Apart from the people reaching out to the two different parties, there's the legal process that needs to be in place. And the National Publicity Secretary of the PDP released the pre-statement shortly after the problems began. And what he said is, according to Section 109, subsection 1G of the Federal Constitution, when you decamp in such a way, you lose the opportunity of sitting in that community. Therefore, the 25 assembly men and women who have left their position have made their offices vacant. And the PDP has applied to INEC to arrange a fresh election to fill those vacancies.
So the allegation by these lawmakers who defected that there is internal divisions within the PDP, you don't buy that?
Well, that issue...
Which formed their basis for defecting?
Sure. That is totally a futile argument, because there is no internal division within the PDP at the national level, so long as the National Working Committee of the party is in place and meets regularly. We have a national chairman, acting national chairman, who presides over it. The National Committee, the NEC of the party, meets regularly. We have a governors forum that meets regularly. So tell me where the crisis is in the national PDP. And it is only if there is a crisis where the party at the national level cannot function, that is when you can say that's why you are leaving the party, because the party does not exist. You and I know that that is not the case with PDP. As we stand now, PDP has about 38% of the National Assembly members. Senate, House of Reps, minimum 38%. As we stand now, PDP has 12 or 13 governors certified. So, you see, they're making a lot of mistakes. They don't know what they're talking about. I think they are also under so much pressure. And they think that somebody in Abuja can save them. I bet you the president is going to be smart enough to understand that this is how the country collapsed under Balewa and Azikiwe. So therefore, if you're very careful, there is nothing like a crisis in the national PDP. These lawmakers in the Rivers State that have left their position, they're in trouble now, because there's going to be a fresh election for their position. They can run again. If they run again under PDP or APC, I don't know which one they want to take now, because the APC is even saying they're not recognized. They don't know them. Wike is going to try to bulldoze his way through APC in Rivers State. It's not going to happen. There is a major problem for former Governor Wike and the 25 that have defected to APC. It will not be so easy for APC to accommodate them. Whatever they want to do, they have an opportunity to run again to get back their seats. That is democracy. So let's go.
All right, but still with you, Dr. Pierce, before I now, begin again or assess or ask Chief Obon to assess your points. The issue of who determines whose seats are vacant is also another, burning issue. Shouldn't it be left for the courts? Is it even a duty for INEC to do? We've seen the speaker or the factional speaker or the speaker that the court recognized. We've seen him saying the seats of these 25 or 27 members, we understand 2 have gone back, that the seats of the 25 members are vacant. But even that appears by some people to be some form of aberration, because they say the Constitution doesn't vest him with those powers to declare anyone's seats vacant.
It is not a question of who has the power to declare the seats vacant. The individuals have declared themselves vacant. The individuals have taken it upon themselves to neutralize themselves by defecting. Therefore, they are said to the world that they are not members of PDP anymore. Therefore, how can they sit on the assembly? Which party will they be representing? Whatever the law says, we must take steps now. Let them go to court. They will go to court. Just like Wike, who said, I will not leave a PDP that has malaria and go to APC that has cancer. Now he's in APC. So let him embrace his cancer.
What do you mean by saying he's in APC?
Well. He's serving in an APC government and is promoting APC interests. So now you want to pretend, people want to pretend that we don't know that he's the one that told these people to defect. He's the one that told them they're going to APC. Even if he doesn't go, most of these people have been told to go to APC. And that's what these people have done in Rivers State. Therefore, let them embrace their cancer there. And then let's move on. If they go to court and the court says, so be it, they can go back, so be it. The governor can't stop that. But in the meantime, they themselves have said they are not members of PDP. So they cannot sit in the assembly without having a political party to represent. What they've also done is they've betrayed the trust of the people who voted for them. People voted for them to represent them, and they presented themselves as members of the People's Democratic Party. Now they're saying, without consulting with the people who put them there, on their own, they say, we're no longer members of the PDP. So you can see the aberration.
All right. Okay. We'll see about you. Don't give me the heart of an analyst. You are the analyst. You are the analyst this hour. You as well as Cletus Obon, who is joining us. So I am just here to ask the questions. But I take your point, though. Let me compare your points with that of.
Remember what he said earlier,
right? That
the job people have a major case. He said,
so you both are on that point.
So, all right, and that's a major point.
All right, I take that as well. But then let me hear what Chief Obon has to say, because that's another layer of the controversy, isn't it, Chief Obon? These 25 members still continue to sit despite a court order, call it an interim one, which it actually is. But they continue to sit, and then there's the issue of are their seats vacant or not, and if it isn't, whose job is it to declare their seats vacant? Help us. What's your take, really, on this matter?
I've been a parliamentarian, so I should know what it means. When this section of the Constitution was introduced, it was on account of the kind of cross-carpeting and the prostitution that took place in Parliament that was threatening PDP at the time, and they introduced that clause in the 2014 amendment that was done as a result of the Constitutional Conference. Now, the intentment of that clause is to ensure that people are disciplined enough to sit where they are and continue to represent the people. Now, I don't agree with Dr. Pierce that they are representing a party. They are representing people. The party is just a vehicle, which if you discover it is faulty and is going to crash and destroy you and your people, you are free to move. But they are now saying until the engine knocks or the brakes fail and you hit the wall and survive, then you can come out. That's what the Constitution envisages presently. Now, in the circumstance where these 25 members are sitting on the other side, the person who ought to declare is the Speaker of the House. He ought to make a pronouncement to the effect that the constitutional provision for leaving the assembly has been fulfilled by these members. Now, the present speaker or the present occupant of the position of speaker, as the court has so pronounced, is the Edison member of the House,
right,
who sits there because the court said so. Now, was it also intended that having the court having said so, no matter how aggrieved and how you think it is nonsensical, it is the law and it is the court, and a proper court for that matter has said so. But what I'm quarreling with is that our jurisprudence must be improved upon to the point where we cannot allow one person to be heard, whether in the Garden of Eden between Adam and Eve. God, who is all-knowing, omnipotent and omniscient, still asked Adam, where are you? A geographical question because of guilt was answered biologically. I am naked. Now in this case, and a matter ex parte, which means the other side must not be heard in a contentious matter. You say he is no longer your member, that he has declared his seat vacant of announcing to you that he is this. And the question is, who questioned your authority as speaker? Because the 25 members couldn't have elected you. 11 members cannot preside over 25 members. That would be Parliament of the Fowls, which is Jonathan Swift in essay he wrote towards during the Irish War. He called it the Parliament of Fowls. You cannot bring 7 people to preside. We saw it in Plateau in 2001, where 6 members were overthrowing 18 members. We came again and saw it. So this is what the Constitution and the National Assembly and Nigerians crave for when they try to insist that democracy must be seen in its true sense. So what we are seeing in that parliament is that the judge ought to insist that the other side must be put on notice. Having not done so, the appeal is pending. Until that appeal comes out and is upheld, then the status quo presently is that the court has said Edison, but he does not have and cannot have, during the pendency of this appeal, proceed to act as a speaker. Because like I made the point earlier on, you cannot have 7 members taking decisions for Rivers State people out of their 32 members they elected. It is the constituents, not the parties. Like now they have moved over the other party. The other party will be celebrating. Are the people in their constituency also celebrating? That the roads, the boreholes, the solar panels, the schools that are to be built in the area that should ought to be argued by their members, they cannot be seen to be sitting there. Is that democracy? Is that representative democracy as envisaged by our founding fathers and the authors of the democratic principles on earth? That 7 people should preside over it. If we have said that democracy is the rule of the majority, you can call it tyranny of the majority. Why should the minority now become the tyrants? We are saying here that as far as we are concerned, that issue is going to degenerate into a point where Nigeria will be engulfed in a war in that area, and the relevant sections of the Constitution have given powers to the president to declare a state of emergency where this kind of crisis is noticed. Because the relevant sections, you cannot read constitutional provisions in isolation. You must not read them in disjunctively. They must be read conjunctively.
Chief Obon,
So,
let me ask you, please hold that thought. Kindly hold that thought, Chief Obon. I'm still with you. If you can hear me, Chief Obon, hold that thought. Apologies again. But I just want to be clear, and I hope I'm speaking the minds of our viewers. I want to be clear your take on the status of these 25 members who say they have defected to the APC Dr. Pierce here is saying that there is even there's a seeming lack of recognition of their status by APC itself, though APC has said it will initiate steps to impeach Governor Fubara now. But on account of what we've seen happening now and their seeming shaky status right now, because we don't even know what the courts will say, if indeed they will go to court to challenge the fact that their seats have become vacant. But for you, as let's remove the hats you're wearing as an analyst, as a peacemaker, for you now as a chieftain of the APC, is the defection of these 25 individuals value somewhat to the whole matter at hand? And to the party, and to the party, and to the APC, most importantly.
Is recruitment. That's what I'm talking about. As a party, first of all, the foundation must be laid that political parties want membership. And that membership must be quality membership that can make even election to implement its manifesto. Now, in this context, if you have River State on your side, I mean, look at River State. It lays the golden egg for the entire federation. And to have government in that place for APC and the South, for example, we have only one state, which is Cross River State, my state. And Governor Prince Otu is alone. He needs brothers. So we would like to have a brother in River State. We are Cross River, they are Rivers. So we just cross the river and we are this way. We need them to all join us, and we have a conference in which the South will begin to gradually do what the Southwest did and bring APC. We are a progressive people in the Niger Delta. Niger Deltans are progressive people. Whether it is from Isaac Adakaboro down to Professor Yecha, we have always been progressives. So the aberration that was introduced to us in 1979 is something we are trying to clear off, and I'm very sure that with this move by these 25 members, we are gradually going to get it done. And I think the earlier Fubara realizes the futility of trying to fight the majority, because he's bringing 2-3, for instance, there are 18 members of the National Assembly in River State, in the National Assembly Senate, 3 senators, and the other 14 members in the. If only 2 have come out, my friend Abiante and the lady there, the number is swelling, and APC should be smiling home and waiting for 2027 with a very lavish post and a great war chest made up of parliamentarians that are determined to give the dividends of democracy to the people of River State and continue the project that Wike has done. But I insist that Wike and Fubara must hit their spot.
Okay.
And if they are going to move to APC, they should do
okay, that said. Okay, that said. Chief Obon, I just want to finish with you. I just want to get one last take from you, and very brief, because of what you said earlier on about the power of the majority. So what's your final take on the budget that was presented and has now been passed? What's the value of that?
That budget, if it is going to be ever implemented, is the most farcical show in our Fourth Republic. It is something that shouldn't be allowed to say. It is too shameful, it is too degrading, it is too denigrating that nobody should even take it serious. I'm sure Fubara will keep that paper and wait for the dust to settle, so that when he sorts it out with his political benefactor, he will come back and deal with that issue of the budget, because nobody in River State, those 25 constituencies are not going to be represented in the budget he's accepting there. So there was no budget. As far as I'm concerned, a paper was thrown at 7 people, and then I'm sure they slapped themselves at the back and went to take their gin that night. I'm not sure that is a budget, and it can never be. It is nothing but just a paper presented, an intention to present a budget. It can never do and cannot work. In fact, if any member of the River State community from those 25 constituencies goes to court, because you cannot challenge the actions of a parliament, but you can about to be passed. You can't challenge it, but once it is passed, that budget can be challenged in court, and the court in Nigeria can entertain it and make sure that those who feel that their own interest was not protected under the law, because there should be public hearings and other such things, and there are people that they elected ought to be there to protect their interests. Having not done so, that budget cannot stand. And so I'm sure that Fubara is just testing the grounds to see whether the microphone is loud or not loud.
All right, Chief Cletus Obun, thank you very much for your time with us. We appreciate you braving the odds of the network issues. Thank you very much for your time. Though we had some other ground to cover, but I'm afraid we've run out of time on this session. Let me just quickly get final takes from Dr. Pierce here. I would have asked him for his take on the resignations that we have seen so far, but on the quality of the budget now, isn't that a bother for you, representing interest of the PDP? And again, the wave of resignations that we have seen so far, is the party bothered? Are you bothered as a member, as a chieftain?
The budget is interim. By the way, Chief Obong said there's no details, people are not represented, it's a very flimsy budget.
Wasn't argued, key constituencies or other constituencies were not represented.
The federal government budget is similar. The Lagos state budget is similar. The federal government has set something in motion, a terribly disastrous and shameful budget presentation.
Okay, in what sense?
Where you don't have any details on what's going to be spent on what. Where you
but you know that, of course, the arguments now, committees are now taking over. Heads of MDAs are coming in to defend.
But normally the budget should have gone further than it did. It's so deceptive. But anyway.
But then we are seeing something. If that is true, we are also seeing something like that being done. Or we are seeing Rivers State. We are also seeing another example in Rivers State.
That is what is wrong with Nigeria. The problem starts with the top. Other people start doing it. I saw the Lagos State budget is the same thing, complaint. Now, but in Rivers State, the situation now is interim. It's temporary. You know, it is because Governor Fubara does not want a vacuum that he had to keep moving. I mean, imagine if he hadn't presented the budget, he hadn't done anything. There will be challenges to the budget. There will be challenges to the fact that only 7 members of the Assembly passed the budget. All of those things will come through. But the budget has been passed. Now let's move on. Whoever wants to claim that they can sit and discuss the budget, they must be representing a political party. They were voted by the people under that platform of that political party, right? So they must go back and reassess their movement back into government. After that, they can sit and discuss the budget, whether it's good or bad, whatever needs to be done, should not be done. What is going on in Rivers State
the cabinet
is temporary.
Okay, even with the cabinet, with what we are seeing in the cabinet.
So it is in a flux. But governor is trying to put his foot down and say, look, there cannot be a vacuum. So we must move on. And that's what they're doing now.
All right. We hope that, the Rivers people, because of course they're watching and they are listening, and you've both said Rivers State is a very, significant state in the scheme of national affairs. We hope that, somehow, peace can be restored to the state, especially for the good of the citizenry. Adetokunbo Pierce, Chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, we thank you very much for your time with us on TVC News. And of course, many thanks again. If Chief Obon is still listening, Cletus Obon, thanks for your time.